It's hard to imagine that we've been encouraged to stay indoors in Hawaii for nearly a month, and it looks like we're gonna have to do it until at least the end of May. I just want to candidly talk about what life has been like here in Hawaii under this stay-at-home order, and just some other observations that I've seen. Things always are constantly changing, and so this isn't really an update video on exactly what the conditions are, because in a few days or in a week, a lot can happen, a lot can change. So you can always check the news for that. But I just want to talk about kind of how it's been just from the average person's perspective, from my perspective, as well as just some general observations about what I'm seeing happening here in Hawaii. In general, life in Hawaii under quarantine, it's kind of boring. There's not really much to do. It's starting to get to the point where I can hardly tell the weekdays from the weekends, and I'm pretty sure if I did not have a son to take care of at this time, me and my wife might go a little crazy. He tends to take up most of the days and nights and late nights and early mornings, pretty much the whole day. So it keeps us definitely busy. But really, there's only so much YouTube and Disney Plus that you can watch before it kind of gets a little bit boring. I've been working from home for the past 6 weeks or so, and it's been really nice. And in a lot of ways, it's been a blessing, because in no other way would I have been able to spend this much time with my wife and my son. It's been an adjustment to get used to working from home, bringing my stuff home, working and submitting things, email and other types of applications. But for the most part, I like it. I like the adjustment. Since the birth of my son, we've been going out a little bit more and more each week. You know, we have doctor's appointments and we like to go out for walks. So that's been pretty nice. And I have to say, in terms of traffic, it seems like every time we go out and we go driving to go somewhere, it's like a Sunday morning. It's hardly any cars. It's so quiet, and after all this is done, I am gonna kind of miss that. I know that less cars on the road means that less people are working, but it's been really nice, so when we have to go and run errands, the road's not that busy. Shopping for groceries has been pretty crazy. I'm sure it's like that all over the country. People in Hawaii love Costco. And so at this point, it's pretty much impossible, and we've ruled out going to Costco or Sam's because it's just too crowded. My parents have been really great in shopping for us. We have like a system where we put down a list of groceries and they go out and they buy it and they bring it to the place. And so we're able to get groceries without having to go out so much. We did have to go grocery shopping one time, which wasn't actually that bad. The grocery store wasn't as crowded as I thought, and they were pretty well prepared. Although I will say that most grocery stores here and probably everywhere else on the mainland, they're just not built to have 6 feet like distance between people. The aisles are way too narrow. So I don't know if they're ever gonna get around that. They're gonna widen the aisles, but we just have to keep our distance. Everyone had masks. Everyone was like staying away. So that was really nice. And it really wasn't any more crowded or slow than what I would have expected. Oahu has had some free food distributions. And I was actually thinking about going and thinking about, you know, taking the wife and the kid, and we go in the car and we go and wait for some free food. But then I heard that the lines are like 4 hours long and people are lining up hours ahead just to get some free food. And I thought, you know, I think we're okay. I think this just shows how desperate people are to get something as basic and simple as food. And I hope that as they have more of these food drives, they figure out ways to make it like less traffic, as well as to make it available for people who can't sit in their car for 4 hours. Maybe they don't even have a car. How would they even get some of this food? So I'm hoping that in the future, they find ways to kind of figure out how to make the food available for these different types of groups of people without making it so crazy, because it's been pretty crazy. All right, so now taking a step back, here are some of my just general observations on what's been going on in the state. First, it's really tough to watch the state basically struggle. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. The state is struggling. We have probably the highest unemployment rate in the country, whereas before we had one of the lowest. I think right now in Hawaii, the unemployment rate is 35%. Which is just crazy to me. You know, we have tourism as our main economic driver, and when tourism is great, everybody's, for the most part, pretty happy. But when tourism is down, like it's been now, it's pretty much none. It's so crazy to imagine how many people are out of work and just how much of an impact something like tourism has on everyday lives. You know, as a local, it's really easy to kind of poke at the tourists and just say, oh, these tourists, they just make life here so miserable. I wish they weren't here. Well, now they're not here, and you can see the impact that their absence has on everyday life. With the 14-day mandatory quarantine period for travelers, it pretty much makes Hawaii a terrible place to take a vacation, especially if you're only staying here for a short time. What's the point? You're gonna be here 14 days or less in your hotel room pretty much. You can't even go out to eat, and then you're gonna go home. It makes absolutely no sense. Now, there are people who don't adhere to these rules, and they're trying to tighten up the rules and regulations on these types of visitors. So if you do happen to come here and you wanna just break the rules, that's up to you if you wanna do that. Just know that you're doing it at your own risk. They've sent people back to the mainland or where they're coming from. Of course, there's fines as well as jail. They're trying to find ways to regulate this, and there's that balance of how do you make sure that everyone here is safe and that everyone is accounted for, while at the same time not making it so inconvenient that nobody will come here. I know that they've considered ankle bracelets and trying to call people up and banning rental cars and making sure that hotel keys don't work after the first day. So I'm not sure if that's plausible or legal for that matter, but they're trying to come up with all these ideas to just keep everyone here safe. Most of the hotels have been closed and other non-essential businesses, except there's that one skydiving operation that opened up early. I'm not really sure why they want to, but they thought that they were essential. But we're slowly seeing retail places and other businesses start to open up, and I think by the end of May, probably most places are going to be open. Granted, it's going to be very limited and probably pretty restricted. What I wish the hotels would do to kind of help people get back to work and kind of fill up some of their rooms is offer really good kama-aina discounts, because you know that if you offer kama-aina discounts, locals might want to actually go, like make them really good. And if you're not familiar with kama-aina discount, it's like a discount just for local residents. If they made it really good, like, I don't know, $50, $100 a night, locals might actually go fill up some of those rooms. I know, granted, you may not want to have all locals there, but just saying, like, if no visitors are going to be here and you want to start opening up the hotels and bringing back some of the employees, maybe have like half the rooms available and make those just for kama-aina. Make sure everyone is safe. Make it like a practice run to kind of just see how the hotel can adjust to bringing in visitors, because once they open up the gates for everybody to come back, hopefully the hotels have some stuff in place. I'm sure like in other places, the unemployment system just got hammered, and in Hawaii, they were not ready for that. The system, the servers, the infrastructure, just totally not ready for that. Even just trying to get through all the claims, the staffing was just not there. So they even had to ask other state employees to volunteer their time to figure out how to get through these claims. I think they're also asking people to log in based on their last name on certain days of the week. Again, not sure how successful that's gonna be, but they're trying to make it so that at least it eases the traffic per day so people can get their stuff through. And I find it very curious that for some people, it's actually more profitable that they stay unemployed because they're earning a lot more money. You get your unemployment plus you get the extra federal money. So you're thinking like, wow, you can get like $1,200 a week. That's pretty good. And if you're making minimum wage, you know, that's a lot more than you're making. So on the news, I've been seeing a lot of these protests popping up here and there across the country, basically demanding that the government open up the state or the city or the county. And we had that here, and I'm sure it's going to keep cropping up that they want the economy to open up. And I completely understand. People want to go out, they want to do things, they want to work, they don't know when this is all going to end. But just know that we're all in this together. We're all trying to be safe, and it doesn't work if certain people don't listen to the rules. So hopefully now that some businesses are opening up, maybe the protests will kind of like ease up. I also think that the communication from government officials has been pretty confusing at times. The governor will lay out guidelines, yet each county or island, they kind of have their own rules. So like Kauai had their own thing going way before the state had these general guidelines. And the thing is, I remember in the beginning when this whole thing was happening, the government officials said, oh yeah, you know, don't need to wear masks, you know. Don't wear the cloth mask. You know, it's just an overreaction. Don't worry about it. It's not doesn't even help. Just don't wear the masks. And then now it's required. And so again, that kind of like confusion, just listening to some of the messages early on, and I know it's with whatever information that they have, but I distinctly remember that them saying, don't wear masks, it doesn't do anything. And yet now we're all required to wear the mask. So there's just that confusion. And of course, if you're going outside and you don't wear a mask, people kind of stare at you kind of funny. If you can believe it, fabric stores were actually closed and they had to remain closed even though people were trying to sew their own masks. Of course, later on they opened it up and it was fine. It's by appointment only. But even just that confusion where fabric stores were considered non-essential, but then later on they switched over to essential, even that like little delay I think creates a little bit more confusion. There was also confusion on flowers for Mother's Day. Apparently the governor said, oh, it's okay, or somebody from the governor's office said it was okay, and then the governor said, oh, no, sorry, not okay, and the florists were all panicking, and then the governor said, okay, yeah, it's okay, you guys can deliver for Mother's Day. So again, just having that kind of confusion, it makes it, I'm sure, very stressful for them, and of course, very stressful for the residents. I think the biggest area of confusion has been the beaches. Beaches are open to the public, yet they've made it so that the beach parks, the parking lots, and the sand area has been closed. So you can go in the water. I guess it's not technically the beach, it's like the ocean. So you can go fishing, you can go surfing, you can go swimming in the water, but you can't actually go on the sand. And that's been really hard to understand. Like, I know that the city and county of Honolulu had like a FAQ, and I read it, and they basically explained like what the rules were. Like, oh, can I go to the beach park? But you know, is it okay to walk through the beach park to get to the ocean? And then, you know, can I sit around? And that's been very confusing. Like, now you can go out and exercise at these parks, but you can't sit down and rest, I guess, because it's considered like you're hanging out at the park. So that's not allowed, but you can go out and exercise. So I think just that kind of confusion, for something as popular and important to Hawaii as the beaches, I was kind of hoping it'd be a little more clear, because up until now, I'm still not even sure if we can go outside. Like, I don't even know, can I go out and make videos if I'm walking? Is that okay? Like, if I walk outside and you know, hold the camera or you know, something like that, can I make a video? Because I'm technically exercising, and then I don't have to wear my mask because I'm exercising. So I don't know, like I'm very hesitant to go out and do some stuff, because I'm like, is this okay or not okay? And I want to close with probably the biggest social impact that this whole pandemic has brought up in Hawaii. Hawaii has been touched, of course, the economy and all that, but socially, I think the biggest thing that this changes in Hawaii is high school graduation. If you don't know, Hawaii high school graduation, it's like the biggest deal. I think it's the biggest social event for most people in Hawaii, and the fact that they had to cancel it for all these kids for the class of 2020 is kind of sad. And I think more so it's really sad for a lot of the families, because for the families it's a really good opportunity, and maybe their only opportunity, to really celebrate a big accomplishment for their kid, because their kid may not go off to college or to, you know, grad school or something else. They might go right into the workforce. And so high school graduation is, and maybe the only opportunity for them to really celebrate, to have a good time, you know, have food and a party. And now that's kind of all taken away. I really hope that people are using this time to improve themselves, whether it's getting more rest or learning or developing relationships, spending time with family. And even though it's really hard and I feel like I just want to go outside and just escape, it's always ohana first. So thanks for watching, and aloha.